Hi, folks. Jeff Jones, Vice President, UFCW Local 1459, with an update for Monday, November 2nd. I'd like to talk to you tonight on something that affects the entire membership, and that would be the role of the Secretary Treasurer in the local. As you know, right now, the Secretary Treasurer at Local 1459 is Dean Ethier, who is running with me on the members' first slate in the upcoming election. So basically, what we want to get into is going forward, where do we see the role of the Secretary Treasurer going, and where might there be changes down the road? As you know, part of our platform going forward is to cut the combined salaries of the top two positions in the local by 25% and reallocate the money accordingly to boost up the staff and to put other boots on the ground to improve the service. So the first thing we want to be very clear about is that the role of the Secretary Treasurer, because of the local, of the size that we have, and the small staff that we have, necessitates that the Secretary Treasurer will service a route. And as you also know, the President in our platform will service a route, because we just don't have the resources to have people who are not also servicing. And if you go back into the history of Local 1459, the staff has basically been a combination of representative service, contract bargaining, political agitation, and organizing. And we kind of do everything depending on what the situation is. That's been the model of 1459. We think it's been a successful model. We think the last 2 years we've gotten away from that. So part of our platform is that the Secretary Treasurer will continue to service. Now, let's look at the slate the candidacy that we're running against. That would be the President and the office secretary, who is put in the position of running for Secretary Treasurer. Now, I've heard it said, I haven't watched this stuff, but I've heard it said that she feels that she would have no problem slipping into the role of Secretary Treasurer. But the role of Secretary Treasurer entails representing members. And that means you service locations. And that means you're on the road. And that person is an excellent bookkeeper. Does a great job. But a bookkeeper is not a union representative, is not a Secretary Treasurer. Secretary Treasurers come from the ranks of people with years of experience servicing members. And what does a union representative do? We service the locations, we bargain contracts, we file grievances, we file arbitrations, we prep for arbitrations and grievances, and we follow through. So the current candidate on the opposing slate has no experience whatsoever representing, servicing, filing a grievance, filing an arbitration, or political work. So that's what you're being asked to choose from. So our platform is basically saying that the top two positions will continue to service. Their de facto plan is for neither of them to service. This plan has already been tried before when the current president, Tyrone Housey, took over. The top two positions didn't service. That's the way he wanted to run it. It didn't work. And eventually, Secretary Treasurer Ethier got a route and has been servicing for some time now. So it didn't work then. Why would it work now? There's no reason to expect that our ability to service would be more effective by going back and repeating something that didn't work the first time we went through. And as I've already told you folks in the past president, to President Housey, serviced. The president before him serviced. It's a formula that works. It's what we want to get back to at 1459. It's part of our platform. I'd also like to touch a little bit upon apparently President Housey circulated a letter that he sent to Secretary Treasurer Dean Ethier to secure his position on the proposed ticket for the fall, and making a big hullabaloo out of that. The background to that is that essentially followed a period of time when he turned against Dean Ethier as his number two candidate and basically tried to set him up to fail by giving him a route with extremely difficult locations. We all have difficult locations, but his were really loaded up. And then pulled resources from some contract bargaining that he was doing and arbitrarily removed him as the alternate on the Health and Welfare Committee. And so Dean wrote an open letter to our executive board expressing his frustration, and the E-board had a meeting, and things were resolved such that Dean's position was stabilized. And at that point, that letter was generated. It was also at that point that the rest of us formed a staff union, basically out of self-defense, because we saw that if you could go after the number two person in the local, who's next? And we just kind of thought it was only a matter of time until somebody else became targeted. And as it turned out, yes, we formed a staff union, and then one or two other people were targeted anyway. So that's why the staff union was formed. If you get something, understand there's a little true and false sheet that he's got going around in which the allegation is made that the union was formed as a front so that people could run against the president without fear of getting fired, which is pure fiction. It's just a complete fabrication. It has nothing to do with the reality at the time. Anybody who could have been terminated would have had an appeal to the executive board. So we didn't need to form a staff union for that, although it certainly helps. Because it gives us just cause language and grievance and arbitration language, the same thing that you folks have in your contracts that we don't have, and we're still trying to get a staff contract to that effect. So that's what that's all about. Just want to really set the record clear about what's happening and what's not happening at Local 1459, and our plan for the future has an enormous amount of increasing the amount of servicing that we do with you. I was in a unit today, and they were complaining that they had seen the union there 2 times in the last 20 months. And a person said, right now, based on that, I don't have a really high opinion of the union. So that's one of the things that we're addressing. That's part of our platform. And I think by the end of the meeting, I had reassured the member that going forward, you're going to see us a lot more often because that's what we're trying to do. And you will. and we'll be fine. But tonight, I just wanted to talk about the role of the Secretary Treasurer. And so, getting back to Dean's letter of support that he got from President Housy after Secretary Treasurer Ethier saw what continued to happen to the rest of the local, it just got to the point where he could not, in good faith, agree to serve on that ticket, even though at that point it would have been clear sailing and he would have had another 3-year stint as Secretary Treasurer. But that was something that Dean Ethier decided he couldn't do. And in due time, he informed President Housy of that. And here we are today with the first contested election in the 82-year history of Local 1459. So with that, I'll bid you adieu. Thanks for your time. Remember, solidarity works, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.